Hello, and welcome to a minisode of My Streaming Bubble. You know, that podcast where I talk about the shows I love with people I tolerate, normally. I'm your TV watching and talking host, Jen, and I'm back with a mini bubble because of, well, March birthdays. Granted, we don't have to go out and celebrate all of those birthdays per se. A lot of the birthdays, because there's like 20 of them in March that we know of, a lot of them are just happy birthday texts and stuff. So, but the big ones are still in March that take up a lot of time. And that's mine and our oldest, who just turned 14. And oh my God, I have a 14-year-old. So because of that, I don't always have a lot of time to record and like schedule recordings and edit those recordings. Also picking up extra shifts at work. So that kind of eats into some of the bit of free time that I have set aside for podcast stuff. So, to try and keep my life a little easier, I'm just going to do mini bubbles. So, the ironic thing about doing mini bubbles to make my life easier is that this is the second recording I've done for this mini bubble. Because after I finished recording the other day on the same show, I realized there was a whole bunch of shit I forgot to say. And I was like, well, that should be all right. But since it's a show my husband and I are still watching, we got to like the 100th episode and we're almost to the end of season 5. And I'm like, oh my God, I have more to say. So here I am. So I'm just going to get right into it. So spoiler warnings for the TV series Bones. It's been off the air for a while now, but still like to give spoiler warnings. A spoiler warning for the entire series, even though we're only up to season 5. And granted, I never finished the series during its original run. Like, I think it was like a new season that started. I wasn't able to watch the premiere right away, but I got a text from a buddy of mine that was something like, no, not sweets. And I was like, I haven't fucking watched it yet. So that got spoiled. And I was like, well, I don't want to watch it anymore. If they fucking killed sweets, like, fuck that shit. That was like the deciding factor. I believe at this point, Bones and Booth had like finally hooked up and we're going to be dating and all of that stuff after several seasons of will they, won't they, and blah, 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 blah. I didn't care for that. I liked the will they, won't they, and the tension and everything. So once they did finally hook up, as excited and happy as I was like, all right, I'm done. But I kept watching for a little bit, I think, but not much longer. So this time, Hubby and I are going to try and see if we can finish the series. So wish us luck. But I have things I need to say for the show up to season 5. So I'm going to give some content warnings and then all the IMDb stuff and then just start blabbering on and on and on, kind of like I've already been doing. All right, so content warning for, we'll go ahead and just say like homophobia, transphobia from season 3, episode 7, the he and the she, the whatever the fuck Angela and the gang were in season 4, episode 23, the girl in the mask towards Dr. Haru Tanaka, because the doctor was very androgynous and they just had to put them in a box, either male or female. And yeah, that was fucking wild. Racism towards Black people and characters, especially Dr. Edison Clark, because it's like there was like one of the episodes, which unfortunately I didn't jot down. The body was found on the railroad, like on train tracks, and Bones sends Dr. Edison out to find more, clues and evidence and searching all the railroads and everything for all that stuff. And he even brings up, like, are you sure? That's kind of not a great look. And she just doesn't get it. And then he busts out like this very like exaggerated Southern drawl and does, I think he says like yes, massa too as well. which she did not get because, of course, she's Bones. She doesn't get that kind of stuff, right? So there was that example that for me stood out right away. I'm sure there were others that I just didn't jot down because this was not a planned recording. Even though this is my second attempt, the first one was not a planned recording. This was a show. Like I said, hubby and I are just watching this for funsies. And then we got to a certain point. I'm like, oh my God, I have things to say. So I don't have like any notes for Bones. Let's see. More content warning for racism towards Muslims because they have a Muslim intern, Aristu. I don't know if I didn't write his character name down, but Hodgins, the way Hodgins is towards him and making all like the terrorist quote jokes and Muslim comments and everything. And that's just that's no good. No good, Hodgins. Let's see. And then extreme like machoism with Booth. He's kind of sexually uptight, very prudish. He's Catholic. So, content warning for Catholicism and that kind of really tight restricting view on things. And, obviously he works for the FBI. So content warning for the FBI. All right. So IMDb synopsis is FBI Special Agent Seeley Booth teams up with the Jeffersonian's top anthropologist, Dr. Temperance Brennan, to investigate cases where all that's left of the victims are their bones. Yep, that's pretty much it. What I says about it, I says it's a police crime solving procedural where they solve the murder using bones because it's what it is. Also, there's a lot of skeletons in DC, and I love that for them. The series was created by Hart Hansen and was inspired by the life of forensic anthropologist and author Kathy Reichs. Funny enough, I normally read nonfiction, but I've been kind of interested in maybe checking out one of her books. So I might scoop one up from Libby there and get an audiobook because I like audiobooks. And my husband has even gotten a little curious as to some of the books and what's been taken from the books, incorporated in the show, and all of that. The show stars Emily Deschanel, David Boreanaz, Michaela Conlon, TJ Tyne, Tamara Taylor, John Francis Daly, Eric Milligan, and then a shitload of others, like all the other squints. And I do have their names, and I think if I have time to get to them individually, I will. So this is the first time we've rewatched this series since it was originally on. And I have just been enjoying it so fucking much. I forgot how funny this show is. I like the effects with the skeletons and just the way they all Team Bones all interacts. We've got all these fun, funky little characters and everything. We got Bones, Temperance Brennan, who's very literal. She doesn't really get sarcasm and stuff like that, which makes it hilarious. And the way that she just kind of responds to things move over, Captain America, because Dr. Temperance Brennan was the first, I don't understand that reference. And I always just love how she just kind of deadpan says, I don't know what that is. I don't understand what that means. And is unbothered by it and just keeps going. She's like, I don't get it and I don't care. And I love that. So if you ever hear me say, I don't know what that means, I'm probably quoting Bones because I love it. It's just blunt. It's to the point. And you got to respect that to a degree. One thing I wonder is, so like I mentioned during the content warning with her interaction with, I'm going too fast. My talking needs to slow down so my brain can stay caught up. But yeah, her interaction with Dr. Edison Clark, like I mentioned in the content warning there, she completely does not understand any of that. And sometimes I wonder if this character is in a way like an Archie Bunker, Eric Cartman type character where her personality is not those characters. Don't get me wrong. But her lack of like understanding pop culture and various references, like she doesn't watch TV, so she doesn't get like any TV references and stuff like that, is a way to kind of like, quote, get away with saying some of the things that she says. And she doesn't say them to be hurtful or to belittle purposefully. It just comes across that way because of just how she is. Like there's like one scene where everyone's like all in Angela's office and they're getting ready to look at her big fancy computer screen thingy. And someone says something about like, oh, you know, we're all geniuses. And Bones is like, well, yes, we're all geniuses, except for Angela. And like that part didn't need to be said, but it was hilarious, right? Like for the audience member, because that's just something you wouldn't generally say. So that's why I kind of wonder sometimes if she isn't kind of in line with those, like the Archie Bunkers and the Eric Cartmans, where she says things that may be deemed inappropriate or offensive. But throughout the series and various episodes, there are times when it's explained to her why that's not okay or kind of called out in a way, I guess. So whatever it is, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on it because deep down, it is just hilarious the way she can react. Now, granted, like I said, with Dr. Edison Clark and moments like that, definitely more cringy, definitely more, especially in 2025, more like, ugh. But we love Bones. We love her, and it's fine. It's fine. And you can't talk about Bones without talking about Booth, right? Seeley Booth. And oh, Seeley Booth, we all love Booth. He's so macho and tough and like FBI loyalist and shit, former government sniper and everything. And completely head over heels in love with Bones. And we are up to almost the end of season 5. We'll probably watch the finale, like the season 5 finale, like tonight or tomorrow, sometime in the next few days. I pray to God I don't have to record another episode or maybe a quick addendum to this one. But we got to the 100th episode, and it's funny because my first attempt recording this was right before we watched the 100th episode. And once we watched it, I was like, fuck, I need to record another one. So in the 100th episode, it's a bit of a flashback episode for those that maybe don't recall. And it talks about, the episode is about Bones and Booth's first case together. Not the one that Sweets thinks, or we all think, but there was a case that they worked on before, you know, like the show started. And their interactions there. And they were flirty with each other. They smooched. Sweets is kind of like crashing out because his whole book that he wrote about their relationship is what would happen like if they did actually finally kiss or something. So he's just like, oh, my book is just garbage now. And I'm just like, no, Sweets, it's not. It's fine because your book is about if they were to kiss now, what would happen and opening up those floodgates. Not upon first meeting each other. So it's kind of different. I think he still would have been all right. But at the end of that episode, Booth finally professes his love to Bones. Because the season started where, you know, he was in a coma. He had a coma dream where they were in owned a nightclub and everybody was there, all the squints and everything. And then when he woke up, basically came down to he realized that he was in love with her. So in the 100th episode, oh my God, they kissed. And it was just as exciting this time around as it was the first time. I was like, ah! And I love Booth for that, for taking that chance and for going for it. Breaks my heart because the way Bones reacted, it's just so sad because you know that she loves Booth, that she cares for him greatly and deeply. But her reaction to him professing his love was sad because she doesn't feel like she's worthy of his love. And that's simply not true. And it's just, And it was just so heartbreaking because you could tell like it hurt her to say that, but she loves and cares about Booth so much that she does want him to be happy. She just doesn't think that she'd be able to fulfill that or that she is worthy of his love and everything. But it's like, honey, you've been working together for 5 seasons. You both have said that there's nothing you wouldn't do for each other. So I think it's okay. And then couple episodes in and they're both kind of dating other people and you see a bit of that jealousy. Diedrich Bader is amazing as whoever the Seeley's boss basically at the FBI. He's just a real treat. I've enjoyed seeing him in this. I forgot that he pops up a few times in that role. So yay. But the way just that weird kind of awkward, nervous behavior when you're talking to your crush about their dating life. It's fun to watch. And it's kind of sad because you know that they'd rather be with each other, that Bones still feels the way she does. She still loves Brennan. Nope. God damn it. Too many B names. Temperance still loves Seeley. There we go. And Seeley still obviously loves her, and props to him for finally just being like, well, I need to move on. But I think it's so, the way she's like, well, can we still be partners? Can we still work together? And that desperation almost of needing to hear yes from him clearly shows that she still loves him. She still needs to be around him in some sort of capacity. She's not ready to give him up completely. And bless Seeley's little FBI heart. He says yes. He's still always very much there for her. But God, that's gotta fucking suck, man. Like, I feel for him in that way because you can see that he still loves her, obviously, but it's just killing him inside to have to be that person that's still there for her, but not be there with her for her. You know what I mean? So I do remember that, yeah, there was a season where Seeley realized that he loved Temperance, but she didn't reciprocate. And I think there's going to be, maybe it's next season. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure there was a season where Temperance comes around and realizes that she does love Booth, but he's now in a relationship. And so they can't be together. And then finally, yeah, they do, and it's great, but it's not. But I just love these two together. They're so much fun. Very like that odd couple pairing, just the back and forth. I love how she just poo-poos all over his religion, and like all religions, truly. But it's just funnier because he's a Catholic. Calling it superstitions and all that kind of stuff. That's just a hoot. I love it when she kind of takes stabs at different things that, as a forensic anthropologist and science-based person, like, she just wouldn't believe in that because she follows facts, not beliefs, not feelings. So those moments are always hilarious and a lot of fun. They're some of my favorites. And again, she's just so blunt and open and honest about it that it just comes across as kind of mean sometimes, but she's not trying to be mean. She's in no way trying to be mean and to be hurtful. Everything just kind of comes out belittling. Now, when she's talking to Sweets or any other psychologist, then I think it's a bit more intentional. But we'll get to Sweets in a little bit because I just got one more thing about Bones and Booth is right away from like that first episode of the series. So much close talking. Like, they're sitting at the table at the diner and they're both leaned in, and I swear to God, they're only like 4 inches away from each other. And it's like, oh my God, so much close talking. And it just continues throughout the series. It's been kind of a hoot to watch because it's like, okay, now kiss. Just fucking do it and get it over with. Oh my God. I love the close talking. But my top favorite thing about this series, at least so far, we'll see as we finish the show if that'll change, but Seeley Booth and the way he hangs up on everybody. Everybody. It's the funniest shit. As soon as my husband pointed it out, like a couple seasons ago, I can't unsee it when it happens. It makes me laugh hysterically. And there was even a moment where I'm not sure if it was Sweets or Hodgins, but they got a chance to hang up on Booth. And we're just like, justice. So, and it doesn't matter if it's a cell phone, landline, or a video call. He just ends it. Like, there's no goodbye. There's no okay. Like, if you were the person on the other end, you would think like the conversation would still be going. But nope, it dial tone. Dunzo. I love that so fucking much. And I know that like in a lot of TV shows, there's not a lot of phone etiquette, right? There isn't that when you get ready to hang up, like, okay, all right, sounds good. Okay, bye. There's none of that, right? They even rarely say bye. And this just kind of takes it to that whole other level where there's not even going to be like a hint of wrapping up the conversation. It's just, I mean, he could hang up on them in the middle of a sentence, and it doesn't matter who's speaking, if it's him or them. He'll hang up on them. Oh, I love it. All right. Whew. I hope that's all I had to say about those two, because that was a whole bunch of stuff I didn't say in the first recording. Okay. Now, Hodgins and Angela. So Hodgins is a hoot. Yes, he's a racist, and he's a conspiracy theorist. The two aren't, connected to each other in any way, truly. Like, you can still be a conspiracy theorist without being a racist. But I do love that he's a conspiracy theorist. And I love it when he has his moments to shine, talking about secret societies and everything, or anytime he just brings up any kind of conspiracy and everyone looks at him like he's fucking cuckoo pants. I think it's hilarious. I'd like to see more characters that are very deep into conspiracies. And it's like he doesn't fall too far down the rabbit hole because he's a scientist, right? He's got, I think, a couple of PhDs. So I feel like him being a conspiracy theorist is in his own way maybe a way to rebel against being crazy rich. So, and I love that we find out that he's the heir to some giant money. I don't even fucking know. It doesn't matter. But I like that he says that Brennan is rich. He's wealthy. So that's fun. And you know what? And I like that he is wealthy. He is an heir to a big whatever, but it isn't brought up every single time. It isn't thrown in our face like that Hodgins is rich as fuck. So that's nice. And it just kind of comes up randomly, I think maybe more or less as needed, and that's all right. But I like that he specializes in like bugs and slime and dirt. And I love when he like walks into frame, like when they're on the platform in the lab, and he just comes up and he just starts typing away on a computer and his stuff all pops up, and it's always like the spiky things. Always with the spiky, I don't know, chart or something. Like, that's all it seems to do. And that's all right. But, it's chef's kiss, beautiful. The way he comes in, he's like, so I analyzed the blah, 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 and typity. And then look, a spiky chart. And then when we started watching it, and the episode where Hodgins and Bones are buried alive via the gravedigger, I forgot that episode happened so early in the series. It's such a great episode. It's one of my favorites, I think. It's so good. I don't know. I guess maybe just kind of those tight quarters, confined, buried alive, and knowing that it's two brilliant scientists. It's like, they're going to be fine. They're going to get out and all of that. And something that the gravedigger maybe did not expect or anticipate when kidnapping geniuses. Seems like a fault on her part. And then the second episode with the gravedigger, and she buries Booth, also a really great episode because he's struggling with some shit. He's struggling with feeling responsible for the death of a private from when they served overseas. And Booth is trying to, figure out how to get out of this like submarine thing. And the ghost of that private is there and like actually is helping him. And, he gets out and there are parts where, even Bones was like, you shouldn't have been able to do that with just one person. You would have needed help, this and that. And he's like, oh, I had help, yada, yada. Which then eventually leads to him going to the doctor and realizing like there's a great big old tumor. But until then, we just think this is a fun ghosty episode. And at the end of the episode, this is my favorite part. And Booth is at the cemetery paying his respects and kind of following through with a promise he made to the ghost private to talk to ghost private's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, former girlfriend, and just to let her know that he cared about her and all that kind of stuff, gives her that message. So as Booth walks over to talk to her, Bones hangs back. And then we see the ghosty private and he's all in his like formal military stuff. And he speaks to her, a beautiful day, isn't it? She's like, yes, it's quite lovely or whatever. It's like, you spoke to a ghost. Such a fun episode. Well, at least that part's fun. Maybe the other parts, not quite as fun, but I really liked it. And I like that it put Booth in a position to kind of confront some of his own demons and his own issues and come to terms with that. So it is really nice when Booth confronts his problems eventually, right? He doesn't do it right away because you don't talk about certain things and, he doesn't need to see Gordon. I love Dr. Gordon too. That was the best. Okay. I am making myself dizzy. I'm talking so fast. All right. But anyways, I was originally talking about Hodgins, so I think that's really all I have to say about Hodgins for now. So we'll go ahead and move on to Angela. Oh, Angela. Sweet, sweet Angela that suffers from a little bit of the Deanna Troi effect, and that is being beautifully useless. No offense. Love them both, but come on. So Angela starts off the series as, like an art major. She does, she's an art major. And in the 100th episode, when we see Bones and Angela, when Bones first kind of hires Angela to work at the Jeffersonian as a facial reconstruction artist or whatever, she's just doing like caricatures, like on the street or whatever. And so she gets hired and she's working at the Jeffersonian, blah, blah, blah. And she does all these facial reconstructions based on bone structure and all that kind of stuff and all the information that Bones and the squints get, height, gender, all that kind of stuff. And it's like she's a very talented artist and she's got a great eye and imagination to put those together and have them be as accurate as they are. But it's like that was it for a while, right? And then eventually, especially now in season 5, while she doesn't have the fancy letters behind her name as a title or anything, she is very, very tech savvy. She knows anything and everything there is to know about sound, image, all that kind of technical stuff. So I love that they gave her that. They expanded on that. And I know in season 1, she had like her, I don't even know what the fuck it was, but it was like with the kind of gold sparkly things and she could do the reenactments through there. And everyone just kind of stood around it. And then the Christmas episode, she does like a Christmas tree and stuff. And that's very, very cool. And I love that, she made all of that and yada, yada. But comparatively speaking, but she's also the heart. She's the heart of Team Bones. Her and Temperance are best friends. And sometimes I wonder, how can they be best friends? But my husband and I were talking about it, and his theory is that they just kind of balance each other out. Bones helps to keep Angela maybe a bit more grounded, look at things from a more logical point of view, and vice versa. Angela helps Bones to think more with her heart and follow her gut, follow her feelings kind of thing, which Bones just can't do. Those aren't facts. So I get that. That's fine. That makes all the sense. But sometimes it just makes me wonder, like when Bones was like, oh yes, everyone here is a genius except for Angela. Like, even as a best friend, you gotta be like, girl, what the fuck? Not in front of coworkers. Holy shit. But Angela has more patience than I do, I guess. Patience and understanding in that aspect. She's also just the horniest motherfucker in that lab. And why she has a key to the Egyptian room is something that really needs to be discussed with Cam. Because she keeps fucking people down there. Granted, it's only Hodgins and Wendell, but like, ew. Also, who else has a key to the Egyptian room? Anyone else fucking down there? Where are the cameras? Where are the security? Like, you see security guards in the lab standing at post, at the entrance for the platform lab part thingy, but nowhere else. Like, somebody died. Someone was murdered in the Jeffersonian. Like, what the fuck? How does that happen? I feel like that shouldn't fucking happen. So, again, with the Egyptian room, who all has keys? Take them all away, wash the sheets, and keep black lights out of that room. But I just... No hating on the horny people, but come on, Angela, fuck somewhere else. Even to the point where Cam's like, stop fucking at work. My God. Oh, and then Cam. I love Cam. I love this actress. And oh God, she's so pretty. And when she first is introduced in season 2, there was something about the way her hairstyle was. And I was like, oh, she looks like she'd make a really good Romulan. Just because I think did she have like the pixie cut? And now she has it the longer or wears like ponytails. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Cam has not had a bad hairstyle. Let's just put it that way. But I love Cam. I love her I love her being added to Team Bones. I do miss the original guy, and we must have missed whatever throwaway line there was explaining why he was not in charge or why he left the Jeffersonian and why Cam's in charge now. But I thought he worked very well with Team Bones. I wonder if maybe the character was still too rigid sciencey wise, where Cam is rigid. Like, she follows science and she follows facts, but she's also a person with feelings that can convey those feelings and isn't just stuck to rigid science. So I wonder if maybe that was part of it. I really don't know why the switch. But Cam, girl, you got to start playing the boss card a lot more. Like, all the fucking time. You can't keep letting those squints getting away with blowing shit up in the lab, setting off the alarms, putting the lab in shutdown. Like, oh my God. You gotta stop letting them get away. You gotta change the locks on the Egyptian room so Angela can't be fucking anybody and everybody down there. And who knows who else is fucking down there, like I said. And I love that she adopted Michelle. Michelle is the daughter of a guy that Cam had dated for several years. So Cam was very much a part of Michelle's life when she was younger and very much like that mom figure and everything, but things didn't work out between Cam and the guy. And then he became a victim. And then to keep Michelle out of the system, Cam offers to adopt her. And I love that. I think that's so awesome for Cam. I like how they're kind of showing this balance. And the girl that they had playing Michelle, she really like that actress's daughter because they look so similar, so many similar features. But either way, it's been really kind of cute watching Cam trying to navigate being a mom and wanting to stay firm, like a parent does on some things. But she's scared of pissing off Michelle or pushing her away. It's a very, very sensitive, especially at first, kind of situation on how to handle it, what would be the best way. And I like that, especially now, Cam and Michelle do have a relationship, a good one. Michelle is very much embracing Cam as family, as that mother figure, and not being too much of like pushing back as like a teenager or anything like that. So that's been a lot of fun, with the exception of Cam trying to find Michelle a gynecologist. So while I guess I can kind of understand as a mom, I don't have a daughter though, but I guess I can kind of understand, like, as a mom, you want to get some feelers out for the right physician for your daughter. And that's cool that she met with dude and everything and more or less kind of had, like, interviewed him, so to speak, to become Michelle's gynecologist. I think it should just always be up to the patient, even and especially a teenager. That's not even like the weirdest part. The weirder part is that Cam and that doctor start dating. And it's like, dude, you just like, oh my God, like, dude just gained a new patient, Michelle, and now he's going to date her mom. As a mom, I'd be like, hell fucking no. And just be like, not while you're my daughter's doctor. Also, male gynecologists? Ugh, not for me. So I was kind of happy that in the episode we watched the other night, that all got resolved. And Cam still is going to see the doctor fella, but Michelle is getting a new gynecologist, and a female one, she tells Cam. So thank God. Whew. I think I'm getting it all out. Holy fuck. All right. Oh, God, fuck. Real quick, back to Angela and Hodgins. So after they break up, she kind of rebounds with an ex-girlfriend. And then Hodgins has like this whole issue about wrapping his head around bisexuality. It's like, it's almost like he struggled with like, oh my God, did I make her gay? Does she still like men? Blah, blah, blah. Do I still have a shot? Dude, fucking relax. Oh my God. Just the reaction of that. And yeah, whatever. Yeah. Oh, and then obviously Angela's dad being ZZ Top. So I'm not sure if he's ZZ or Top, but I love it when he pops in. And I love that they kind of just play him up as like this Texan badass and everything. So I find it a little hard sometimes to believe that he's her dad and everything. I don't know why, but I don't hate it. It's still a lot of fun. I don't know if he pops up in any more episodes. I hope so. Oh, all right. So, sweets. Oh, sweets. John Francis Daly as Sweets is just the absolute best. I love that he is so knowledgeable. He's got all those credentials, but he's also young, so he catches a lot of shit for that. And he takes it pretty well for the most part, but you can obviously tell that it gets old. But then he does things like get all like 20-something-year-old excited about things. And I love that because, yes, it shows that he is a very knowledgeable professional in his field, but he's still a person. He still has the things that he enjoys and will more or less like geek out about. Whatever rock and roll episode where he gets all gothed up, that was wild. They get all excited for getting Avatar tickets, not Last Airbender, but like Blue People Avatar. And just those three Sweets Hodgins and emo intern, the way they all come together for that and each take turns standing in line. But Sweets definitely has his moments, and I'm really not looking forward to the episode where he dies. I'm gonna ugly cry like a lot probably. And then it'll probably be really hard for me to want to keep watching because like right now, like every day it's like, all right, let's try and get in like one more episode of Bones. When we get to that point, I'm worried we're just gonna be like, I guess we could watch an episode of Bones. Ugh. All right, let's see. Anything else on Sweets? I don't think so. He's adorable. Love him to pieces. Him and Daisy, I don't know why it works, but it does. And, this time around, Daisy doesn't annoy me as much as she did like the first time I watched it. Maybe because I'm aware of the character and kind of know what to expect. But during this rewatch, maybe it was just because I was so annoyed with Daisy, but it's like, God, she is very, very much like Bones, very much like Brennan. She just has a higher pitched voice and she gets overly excited. And maybe that's her age, being a younger intern. But there was whatever episode that was, they both kind of have like a fangirl squealy moment, almost like holding hands, jumping up and down, kind of excited over whatever the fuck was going on with the body and it being like a unique case or something. I don't know. But that was really, really cute on really kind of both their parts, both their ends, because, Bones is still kind of struggling with Daisy on whether or not she can tolerate her. So that was a really sweet little moment for them. And yeah, Daisy and Sweets. Oh God, is she going to be okay? Were they still together? I'm not looking forward to that episode. All right. Speaking of other episodes I'm not looking forward to, while we're talking about the interns. So there's Random Fact Intern, and he might be my favorite, Mr. Nigel Murray, because of his random facts. And he's just so adorable. And my son, our oldest, he has a buddy that just will drop random ass facts as well. And he's kind of my favorite out of his friends because of that. Just the most weird random shit. And it's fantastic. Like no one asked. But I do remember the episode where Random Fact Intern dies. He gets shot. He's standing on the platform of the lab. So he's shot through like the skylight or something, I think, of the Jeffersonian. Again, security. You're working with the FBI. Let's get a few more eyes and some bodies around to, keep the evidence and the victims safe and shit. Oh, but oh my God, that was so sad because he's just like on the floor and he's dying. He's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And it's like, no, don't say those words. Don't do that. And this makes it so much harder for me. Ugh. But love Random Fact Intern. Like I said, there's also Emo Intern, and he's a hoot because he's just bummed all the time and just says some of the most depressing shit. So that makes me smile. I don't even fucking remember what his name is. All right. And then there's Aristu, the Muslim physician or doctor or intern. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. All right. Sorry. I had a text from my kid, so I needed to make sure and respond. All right. So now on to, yes, the Muslim intern, the one that Hodgins was mean to, especially at first. So when we're first introduced to this character, he's got an accent and it drove me fucking nuts. I was like, as someone who is in no way an expert on accents whatsoever, I was like, this sounds bad. This is not a good accent. And I was just like, I tried to remember, like, did he have the accent all the way through the series? No, thank God. He slips up in front of Cam and then eventually comes clean to everybody else about it and his reason why. And it makes absolutely all the sense. So, but I was very, very happy when they dropped the accent because it was not good and kind of annoying. So, so I like it. It's much better now though. All right. And then, one of the other interns that they had was the older gentleman who had like 5 sons. So he was just a wealth of random information. So it's a shame. I think he only shows up in that one episode so far. I don't think he comes back, which is, again, a shame because I really liked him. I like that actor. I can't think of what his name is. And since he was likely only in the one episode that I don't even remember which episode that was, it's going to take forever to scroll down and find him on IMDb. But yeah, he was great. And I like that they went, even for that one episode, an older intern. Oh my God. Can't forget about like the intern of all fucking interns, Zach, who, oh my God, the Gormagon storyline was the best. That reveal was the best. When Bones and Booth realize it, Cam's sitting in the hospital with Zach and she, B&B have that look, very serious. And Cam was having a good time with Zach, and then her face changes because she sees their face and she's like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yes." And as she's exiting the room, she's like, "Didn't see that coming." It's like, ditto. None of us did. So I love that Cam was the audience in that moment. But oh my God, that was so much fun in watching. I think that was season 3. I love that. So when we had started season 3 and the first Gormagon episode, we're just like, oh, fuck, that's right. And we started to remember a few things like that it was Zach, but we couldn't remember like how or why and all of that. So it was fun having all of that revealed to us again, almost brand new. So since we're just kind of watching it on Hulu, not always keeping track of where we are episode wise. So I believe it was the finale of season 3 where that's all revealed. And as the episode starts and is playing, I was like, is this the episode that we find out? And sure as shit, it was. So it was, like I said, it was just kind of fun to rewatch that almost for the first time again because we didn't remember a lot. But that, oh God, that was such a good twist. And then I like how he's kind of popped back in a couple of times since then. So, and he even escaped. He used Sweet's like access card. He swapped it out for his Looney Bin library card, he said. And was able to get out. So, Zach, still the best intern. But it's like, if you had a really close friend or coworker that you cared about a lot, but then had a hand in all these murders and just the kind of fucked upness of Gormagon and the skeletons and the positioning and everything, the cannibalism. It's like, how quickly do you like forgive that? Because they all still very much care about Zach. When he escaped, they're all just like, woohoo, we're happy to see him. And it's like, dude, he's an accomplice to like a bunch of murders and shit. Like, how does that work? How do you reconcile that? But they don't, so that's fine. Let's see. Oh, yes. And then obviously there's a Dr. I almost just said his real name, Eugene Bird. Dr. Edison. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Edison kind of gets labeled as, in my opinion, because of the show and because of how his character is written, almost kind of stereotypical angry black man with understandable reason. The dude, all he wants to do is go to work, do his job, not get caught up in everyone's personal bullshit and fucking go home. But no, he gets sexually harassed by Angela. he keeps getting looped into these conversations. And so he gets irritated, and they're not respecting him wanting a respectful workplace. And it's like, yeah, there was the one, like, I think even after his first episode, he's like, I'm not working here. This is fuck this shit kind of stuff. So it's like, good for you for standing your ground and not tolerating a more or less toxic for him workplace, but then he comes back and he still wants everyone to just, please don't get too personal. He's not going to share personal things except for the one time when he did with Hodgins. And there's like nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to go in, do your job, get along with your coworkers, but not get personal. And it's like the sexual harassment got to the point where he felt he had to bring in his girlfriend to show Angela, like, please stop sexually harassing me. A poor fucking man. And then there's even the one episode where which we haven't gotten to yet, I just kind of remember from the first watch, where he's trying to be more positive in the workplace, and he's kind of smiling more and maybe a bit more engaging in conversations and everything. And everyone was really weirded out by that. And then by the end of the episode, he snaps and he's angry, and he's, it just comes bubbling up and out. And everyone's just kind of like, oh, there he is. Like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Phew. All right. I think that's all the interns. Oh, and then there's Wendell. Duh. The white guy one. Sorry. Very handsome, kind of all-American. He does not come from money by any means. That's brought up several times. They're on a scholarship or whatever that at one point loses funding. And so he was going to lose the scholarship and then not be able to work at the Jeffersonian. But then Brennan eventually saves the day, but only after she's like, well, I already donate to a lot of charities. So kind of like, why would I do that? Again, just classic Bones. Yeah, he's a nice, sweet little cutie patootie. Hooks up with Angela for that hot minute. And she's like, I got a key to the Egyptian realm. Like, ew, girl, calm down. So he's Wendell. Fun fact, I was watching Grimm because I'm pod prepping Grimm, and the actor that plays Wendell showed up as an intern and very like excited and like overly eager to help out and to please and all of that. And it's like when he first showed up, I was just like, I didn't remember that he showed up in the series in Grimm, and especially as an intern. So I'm just kind of chuckling, and I'm like, oh my God, are they going to Gormagon him? And they sure as fuck did. Oh, spoiler for Grimm. Either way, I just thought that was kind of amusing because I think I don't remember where we were at in our Bones watch, but yeah. And then Wendell showed up. Oh my God. And then in our Bones watch, we were watching it the other night, and it's the episode where like Hodgins and Angela got arrested because they had like old warrants for bullshit. So they got to wait for the judge to come in and review their charges and let them go and all of that. And the judge that comes in is the actor that plays Mr. Johnson on Abbott Elementary. And my husband and I were like, oh my God. I don't think they ever say what the judge's name was. But as far as I'm concerned, that's Judge Johnson. And that was just one of the many careers Mr. Johnson had before working at Abbott Elementary. So it's kind of been fun seeing some of these other actors that we now know from different things, from various shows and movies that appeared in Bones, and just being like, just kind of having like a geek out, moment of like, oh my God. Okay. Now am I done? Let me think about this. I think for time-wise, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm sure there are other things that I didn't get a chance to say in this recording or my first attempt. So if anyone out there would like to do an episode on Bones. We'd likely do the whole series unless you wanted to go season by season. But either way, if you have things you want to share about the show, you just need someone to like talk excitedly at, I am your girl. So let me know. Let me know if you want to be on the podcast. Let me know if you want to talk about Bones. If you don't want to talk about Bones, that's fine. We can find something else to talk about. But you should go ahead and send that request to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. And then also make sure that you're still following all the various, like there's more than the two. So make sure you are following this podcast on the socials. You can just search for this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And yep, I'll pop right up. Go ahead and click the follow. And don't forget to share this podcast through any of your preferred podcast players. And also don't forget to rate and review. And make sure you do all those same things for my other podcast, Twin It to Win It. That's the monthly podcast that I co-host with Aaron from It's a Fandom Thing, where we test our twinningness by guessing how the other one feels about different horror movies. It started off with just movies, but after like a year, we realized we were doing only horror, and that's fine. We both love horror, and I think it makes for great conversation. And because it's like rom-coms, boring. Chances are I hate it. So that's going to be pretty easy to guess there. But make sure you are following Twin It podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and or Blue Sky. And make sure you are following us on whatever podcast player you prefer, and rate, review, share, all of that good stuff. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me today. So, woohoo! I feel a lot better with this recording. Just watch. I'll start editing it and be like, fuck, forgot so many other things. But we'll leave it at that, and we'll leave it open for if anyone wants to come on the podcast and talk about Bones. So, but until next time, thank you all for listening, and keep streaming. Bye. If you're enjoying the podcast, here are a few ways to show your continued support, like rating and reviewing on a podcast player near you, and sharing your favorite episodes with your friends, family, and mail carrier. If you're looking for merch, then stop by my Redbubble store, where you can find and buy My Streaming Bubble stickers, hats, shirts, and more. You can also find me over at buymeacoffee.com and, well, buy me a coffee. Thank you for your continued support, and keep streaming. Bye!